In this question here, we've been given the total volume of the cylinder. So I'm just going to sketch a cylinder here. So I've got my cylinder. And the total volume, there's 300 cubes inside this cylinder. And we know that this is 10 centimeters high. And we want to find the area of the circular base. Well, we know that we can do this algebraically if you like, or you can just undo the calculation. We know that some area times 10 equals 300 cubes. So we know that the area must be 30 centimeters squares. So if we have 300 cubes, that's going to be the area times 10 centimeters. Okay, to find the area of the base, we're going to undo that multiplication. So we're going to get 30 centimeters squared. Okay, so this works out to be 30 centimeters squared. Just keep that in red actually. Okay, so that area that I've shaded here, there's 300 squares in, or sorry, 30 squares in that area. So that's part A. We just need to undo that calculation to get the area of the base. To work out the radius of the circle then, so this is part B, we know that pi r squared gives us the area of the circle. Well, we have the area of the circle. So we just need to undo this calculation to figure out the radius. So if we're going to undo the times by pi, I'm going to divide by pi. Okay, that's approximately, I think, a little bit less than 9. Okay, so 30 divided by pi gives us, or sorry, it's going to be 9.55 about. Then we're going to undo this square by square rooting both sides. So we get the square root of that number. That's approximately, first of all, we'll get rid of that negative, because when we undo squares we get plus minus, but we don't need the negative in this problem because there's no such thing as negative radius. And if we square root that number of 9.55, we get about 3.09 centimeters as the radius. So we got rid of the squares by square rooting, so we just end up with centimeters as our final units. Here we have a 10 by 10 by 10 cube, and we have a 5 centimeter diameter hole cut out of it. And so we want to figure out what is the volume of the metal needed to make this object. So what we're going to do then is we're going to take the volume of the cube and we're going to take away the volume of the cylinder. Okay, so the volume of the cube is fairly straightforward. It's going to be 10 times 10 times 10, or since it's a cube, we're going to cube it. Okay, so that's the volume of the cube. We're then going to take out the cylindrical part. Okay, we want to get rid of that volume. So the volume of the cylinder, okay, is going to be the area of the base. So we're going to have, the radius is 2.5, so we need to square the radius, times it by pi. That's my area of the base, and I'm going to times it by the thickness of 10 centimeters. So when I do 2.5 squared, it's going to give us 6.25. I'm going to multiply that by 10. So maybe do this in steps. So 6.25 times pi times 10. So that's going to give us 62.5 pi. And this is going to be centimeters cubed. Converting that to decimal, is going to give us 196.35. It's going to be 349. I'm going to round that to 35 centimeters cubed. Okay, so then the volume of metal that we're seeking, so this is the final answer, we're looking for the volume of metal. So the volume of metal is going to be equal to the cube, so 1,000 centimeters cubed, and we're going to take away the volume that the cylinder would occupy, and that gives us about 803.65 centimeters cubed is the volume of metal that's going to be required to make that object.